Hi everyone, I'm Derek Wagner with Spektrum, and today I'm here with John Adams, Technical Director for Spektrum, and we're here to talk about a new development with AVC, or Active Vehicle Control Technology. Most of you have heard about Active Vehicle Control Technology, but in case this is the first time you've heard of it, AVC, or Active Vehicle Control Technology, is an electronic stability system that currently is available in the Vetera Helix and the Losi 10 Rally X vehicles. And what it does is it assists with stability through steering augmentation and throttle control to provide a more manageable driving experience with a high-powered brushless vehicle or vehicle with limited traction. John, tell us a little bit more about AVC and how it can benefit the driver when installed in virtually any vehicle.
Absolutely, Derek, I'd be happy to. So we've had the chance since the last video to use the AVC receiver in a lot of different vehicles, including vehicles like 12-scale carpet cars, Formula One on-road cars. Of course, we have a 5T here, and it works great in this application, some 8-scale off-road buggies, and some 10-scale electric 2- and 4-wheel drive buggies and trucks. So it's quite amazing the advantages that AVC offers. We are now offering a new receiver. It's called an SRS 4210, and it's set up to be used for virtually any kind of vehicle. In a few minutes we'll tell you the limitations where we wouldn't recommend it, but you can install this in virtually anything. And of course we have a 5T here, for example. What AVC does is it allows you to manipulate the steering gain, the throttle intervention, and then we've incorporated a function called priority, so you can literally tune the receiver and the response of the system on the fly from your transmitter.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about how you can incorporate AVC into your vehicle. So we have two radios in front of us. Both of them now are available as systems with the SRS 4210 receiver that John just mentioned. So if you're a sport level driver or an avid racer or avid enthusiast, you can pick between one of two radio systems. The one on your left is the DX4C radio that again is included, or the SRS 4210 is included with. And simply all you have to do is replace your existing receiver with the SRS 4210 receiver, bind and calibrate the transmitter to the receiver, and you're ready to take advantage of AVC, or Active Vehicle Control. The second transmitter I have in front of me, or the one to your right, is the DX4S. You have more programmability features, but all the same AVC functionality. The nice thing about both of these radios is AVC is fully adjustable. So in the initial launch of AVC with the Helix and Rally X, on the included DX2E, the steering rate knob acted as the adjustment level or sensitivity adjustment level for the throttle gain and heading hold. Well, now with these systems, they are 4 channels, so you can actually adjust throttle management and heading hold separately. So for vehicles like the 5T, where you may need less throttle management but more steering input, it greatly improves the adjustability level for both of those components of AVC, or Active Vehicle Control. John, do you want to add anything else?
Absolutely. So with these radios, we've actually incorporated, and also by the way, on the DX4R Pro, shortly there will be an upgrade that you can get online. Go to SpectrumRC.com, and you can actually upload with an SD card the latest firmware for the DX4R Pro. And what this has is it actually has AVC functions that are now in the menu. So those AVC functions include steering gain, it includes throttle gain or throttle intervention, and it also includes a function called priority. So you can literally go in and set those up. You can either set them up manually, so they're at a fixed rate, or you can assign them to various switches. So the neat thing about this, so what steering gain does is, think about that as stability. So the more stable and the more gyro control that you want on the steering, the higher the value. So you can turn that up or down using a knob. So if you're driving your car and the car is still unstable, you increase it. By the way, if it gets too high, actually you'll see oscillation when you drive the car, so the car will oscillate when you're driving. So you can adjust that up and down. Now throttle intervention, actually what throttle intervention does is, as the car starts to slide out, it actually reduces the throttle, preventing the car from stepping out. So the way to adjust that is you go through some slow speed corners and you accelerate hard coming off the corners, or going into the corners, you go into it hard. If the tail end comes out, you increase the throttle intervention. If it tucks in and doesn't come out enough, then you decrease it. Now the other function that we have is called steering priority. What steering priority does is, as you manipulate the steering wheel, the farther you get away from center, it actually reduces the steering gain. What this does is this allows you to have a very high gain setting around neutral, but then as you get around the edges, around steering, you want the car to turn in. So to prevent the gyro from fighting the car turning in, we have a function called steering priority. So at 100% steering priority, the gyro is actually completely off at the edges, and it proportionately goes to whatever percentage you have in the middle. And you can also manipulate that steering priority that you can put on a switch, so you can increase or decrease it. So the way you're going to adjust this is you're going to have the steering priority and the throttle intervention set up the way you want it, and then you go into tight turns. And if the car's not turning in enough, you increase the priority. If the car is spinning out, then you decrease the priority. So that's how the three things work. And the cool thing is you can set it up on any of these radios. You can set it up so that they're independently adjustable from switches, or you can put multiple things on the same switch. So it's a really cool way to be able to quickly adjust your car on the fly. And it's quite amazing how it works. In fact, if you guys get a chance, there are several videos online. We have some of our customers that have been using this in the Helix, and actually there's one of them in particular where a guy's out in the snow and he's just ripping on it. He turns the AVC on, he turns it off. The car goes from being totally uncontrollable to being stable and accelerating and easy to drive. But you'll find that AVC in virtually any vehicle makes the car easier to drive. If you're a racer, you're kind of skeptical. Number one, it's not legal in most race organizations. If you're a racer, I'm sure you're kind of skeptical, saying, well, I really don't need it, I want to drive it myself. Well, frankly, I've been racing for about 30 years, and in all cases that we've tried this, in some cases it actually gives me faster lap times. In all cases it makes the car easier to drive, and in no circumstance is it ever cause the car to go slower or feel like I have less control. So.
Well, now let's talk about how you can incorporate AVC into your vehicle. So we talked about picking up one of the two radio systems, but as John also alluded to, if you purchase just the SRS 4210 and you have an AVC compatible transmitter, you can use your existing transmitter to work, which will bind and calibrate with the AVC receiver, and depending on the number of channels will determine the adjustability level that you have with that transmitter. You can visit SpectrumRC.com/AVC to determine what level of transmitter or what level of adjustability that you will have with your transmitter. So let's talk about the types of vehicles that you can put AVC into. John alluded to a few. So we have 5th scale vehicles, 8th scale electric nitro vehicles, virtually the entire gamut of vehicles. The nice thing about the SRS 4210 receiver is that it has auto orientation. So for instances like the Vitera Glamis Uno, where the actual receiver has to be mounted on its side, the actual receiver senses how it's mounted and adjusts accordingly. So various mounting positions in various vehicles does not affect the performance or stability enhancement of the SRS 4210. John, are there any applications where drivers should not use the SRS 4210?
Yeah, a couple things. First off, we really haven't done much testing with this with boats. We're in the process of doing that. So if you're a marine guy, if you want to give it a try, it is conformally coated, so it's water resistant, but we really haven't tried much in boats, haven't done much with that. So boats at this point, wouldn't highly recommend it in that application. In addition, there are several micro vehicles where the receivers just it doesn't fit. And there are some applications, some micro vehicles that have integrated receivers and speed controllers, so it won't work with that. But virtually any place that you can put this in any kind of vehicle, on-road, off-road, buggy, truck, definitely it'll work in all those applications.
Yeah, so the number one question probably the number one or number two question we received once we launched AVC originally with the Helix and Rally X is, well, when can I get a system to actually put it in the vehicle that I have now or the vehicle that I'm looking to purchase? Well, we have the answer for you folks. You have two options with each radio system, the DX4C or DX4S with the SRS 4210 receiver or the SRS 4210 receiver standalone. So you have the system. Well, how do you install it in the vehicle? I alluded to earlier to where you simply need to exchange the receiver in your existing vehicle with the SRS 4210. But John, talk a little bit about the binding and calibration process and how easy that is for the driver.
Absolutely. So when you first install the receiver, it needs to be in one of these orientations. It needs to be either flat, it can be flat upside down, or on its side, on any of the sides. So each time you power cycle it, the receiver senses the gravitational force. So it will automatically sense the orientation that the receiver's in. So you simply install this in one of those orientations in your vehicle that you have now. You power it like normal, you plug the throttle and the steering in place. Then you insert the bind plug and you power it up, and of course the light will flash. then the first thing that's necessary is to calibrate the system. The first thing you need to do is bind the transmitter to the receiver. The lights are going to flash and then they'll go solid. Then it's very important that you go to full throttle, then full brake, then full right, then full left. What that does is that calibrates the receiver to know the endpoints, and it's also calibrating the direction. So it's important, first forward, then reverse, then right, then left. So that calibrates the receiver, and then of course you turn the receiver off, you unplug the bind button, and you're ready to go. Now, should you find it necessary to adjust the travel adjuster, let's say the first time they're reversing on the steering is in the wrong direction, the throttle's in the wrong direction, then you'll need to correct that and go back in and recalibrate. So when you do your calibration, of course, everything needs to be going in the right direction and traveling the right distance. But it's as simple as that. There's no reason to ever have to recalibrate, no reason to ever have to rebind for that matter, unless you want to switch to a different transmitter or change some settings. But it's very easy to use, and like I said, it's pretty darn cool. If you're a sport level basher, you just enjoy running the heck out of your cars, or if you're a competition level racer, you really ought to try this thing. It's quite impressive how it works. I've been doing this a very long time, and I'm quite stunned as how it's improved my driving experience, both just goofing around as well as on the track. It's a pretty neat deal.
Let's briefly talk about how you adjust AVC with the transmitters you see in front of me and the 4R Pro that John alluded to earlier, or showed you earlier. All three of these transmitters have a dedicated AVC screen that makes it easy to adjust steering augmentation and throttle augmentation. For any receiver or any transmitter that was purchased prior to today, you will need a firmware update to get that dedicated AVC screen. Now, John, can you talk us through transmitter compatibility and users with a existing Spektrum transmitter, the level of sensitivity or adjustment levels that they have,
Sure.
and which transmitters work?
Absolutely. So in order to get the ultimate experience with this AVC receiver, one of the 4-channel radios that we have here is really the way to go, because as you mentioned, you have independent adjustment of everything, and there's a priority function that's built into the radio. If you have an existing radio, a 2 or 3-channel DSM-2 radio or a DSM-R radio, those will work as well. Just keep in mind that unfortunately, you won't have that freedom of independent adjustability. So with a 2-channel radio, like the DX2E, the V2 version, when you adjust the knob, it's going to adjust the throttle gain and the steering gain simultaneously. If you have a 3-channel radio, you will be able to adjust, again, the throttle gain and the steering gain will be adjusted simultaneously. So you won't independently be able to adjust it. So you lose some of that ability. And by the way, the priority's not there. You can do a kind of a complex mix by mixing steering to throttle, and you can effectively achieve kind of the same thing as priority. But in reality, you're just not seeing quite the same advantages that you have when you're using one of these 4-channel radios. So while it works, it's not ideal, but it's certainly, if that's the radio you have, give it a shot. You'll still find AVC to be an advantage, but to take full advantage of the features, really these 4-channel radios are the way to go.
Well, thanks, John. Well, now you can equip virtually any vehicle with AVC or active vehicle control technology. Visit SpektrumRC.com/AVC to learn more about incorporating AVC into your vehicle today.